first of all, again, make sure if you don't want to follow with the PowerPoint, that's fine. But I'll be talking, you'll need to stop. You need to have it open though and ready to go and your paper packet out. If you decide you want to try to follow along with your notes, that's fine. You already know kind of how fast it's going to go, so you're probably not going to get much of that done. But you can have it open and trying to follow. Don't be working on any other part of it. Also, kind of helping remind some people, again, Google Classroom. Everything's posted on there except for the videos. They'll be in the classroom or on Schoology. Most of the time it's Schoology, but if not, it'll tell you on here. So, like today it says, we continued our animal diversity lectures with Chordates. That's what we're going to talk about. It says, remember to keep working on your note packet. That's your paper packet. All right. Our last animal lecture is the 26th. So that means the packet is due the 27th. So you got to try to keep up with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up turning it in late. The other thing is, I don't want you trying to stay up late and get it done tonight and all that, because what do you have tomorrow? STAR test. I want you to kind of work on it today, maybe. We'll see what else we have to do today. But tonight, kind of take a break. You may have other homework. I'm not going to tell you about their classes, but I'm going to tell you in mine. I don't want you working on a whole lot of science tonight. I want you relaxing and being a kid. Okay? Come in and take that test and do the best you can. The more relaxed you are, I don't go, oh, I stayed up all night gaming because Coach Raver said relax and be a kid. Okay? But I'm saying I'm not worried about you catching up with science tonight. But you need to stay up on this packet. Because tomorrow night, you need to work on it. And then the 26th is going to be the last lecture we have. And you're going to have to turn it in the next day. But tonight, don't go crazy trying to get everything caught up. The next thing says keep working on the Nearpods. I got emails on Thursday. They weren't working, so I tried to research why. Friday, we finally figured out they just, whenever they renewed the subscription, for some reason, it made them all not work. So the description is on here, though. You'll still go to the same assignments. The same name will be there. You should have got new emails today. But that assignment will have the words current at the end of it. So if it's biological levels, it'll say biological levels - current. I had to keep all the old ones because if Aiden had already done biological levels, I couldn't delete that old assignment because it shows that he's done it. All right. But so I had to make all new ones, but they say current. They should be right there available, but the emails are the ones that are the most, I guess, easiest to get you there. Again, make sure as you're missing, you're going here or there for sports or whatever, you look at Google Classroom, okay? And then remember, on Schoology, everything's by date now. Okay? For a couple of months now, I've done it all by the day. So if you know you missed the 24th, you know you have something in Schoology, go look, find the 24th. With that said, of course, today's video will show up right here, but also today, it says this will be done after the above lecture. Chordates are really important for two reasons on STAR. For one, we got to kind of know what they are, where a chordate, all that kind of stuff. But for two, is they like to use them either to use as an illustration for a question or to ask a question over chordates because they're pretty important. They'll ask lower animals, they'll do all that, but the odds are higher that it'll have a chordate either in the question or a question about chordates. Okay? So after we're done today, this is that crash course. He talks real fast, all that, but he'll give you some more pictures, some more information, and repeat a lot of what I say. And maybe it'll absorb a little bit because this is an important topic. And if you're going to study any animals, I'm not saying it won't be on the STAR, but odds are this is the category that is. That means the other ones won't, but chordates are more on there more often. So that is on here as well. It says after the lecture. So today when you have free time, after we're done with the lecture, if you want to watch that video first, or if you want to work on your packet, it's your choice. All right? You're going to have about half of the class period. Now, this lecture is not real long. We're just going to talk about some stuff. So first of all, we're going to talk, like we have with the others, we're going to talk about the oldest fossil evidence for chordates. Okay? Ancient chordates. And again, remember, it's fossil evidence. So we're not seeing the creature, right? That's the bad part about fossils. You can look at a fossil, see how it was built, know where they found it, know what lived, and where it lived, and all that stuff with it. and you have to still guess or theorize as to what it was or how it was built exactly, and that kind of stuff. Just in my time of being alive, I bet T-Rex has changed 15 times. Because as they learn more about the skeletons and find more skeletons and where it was, they learn a little bit more subtle differences about its feet or how fast it might run or this or that. So it changes due to fossil evidence. We're going to talk about a cladiogram, whatever you want to call it. Okay, a cladogram, as I've heard that as well. Just understand it's that basic graph of animals, okay, that little chart of animals. So let's talk about our earliest chordate. First of all, a chordate is a creature that has a nerve cord. Right? Now we're going to have some that are lower animals. They have what's called a notochord. They're still a chordate. It's still a nerve cord. It's just not fully integrated into the body like what ours is. So when we say spinal cord and we say notochord, we're talking about nerve cords, but two different things, kind of. So these guys, our earliest chordates, had paired muscle blocks, and again, they look segmented. It's a fossil. There's a picture of the fossil on there. You can tell it looks segmented. Can we prove it was segmented? Not really, because it's a fossil. We can tell what it looked like and what it probably was, but we can't prove it was segmented because this thing isn't alive anymore. It had a notochord. You could tell by the way the fossil is. If it leaves a little ridge in the middle of tissues, then it was probably a spinal or notochord. And the size and the integration level of this is believed to be a notochord. It had a tail fin. So where did this guy live? Water. In water, because he had to swim. So he lived in a water environment. Okay, there's no legs or wings, so obviously it didn't come on land. Right? At the front, it has tentacles or antenna. Our book says tentacles. It could be little antennas. Again, it's just in the fossil record. They think it's probably tentacles. And then below it had mouth parts. So it's called a head region. What did we call that when it had a head region? It was a C word the other day. Okay, the word is cephalic. That means head. And then the process or the occurrence of it having it is called cephalization. Okay? So when this thing is believed to have cephalization, a head region, remember it doesn't mean it's a true head, but if it has sensory, whether it's tentacles or antenna, it has mouth parts, it has a segmented body, maybe some eyes, maybe no eyes, but it looks like a head, and it has parts put there. In other words, it doesn't have them all spread out. They're localized. Then it is called cephalization. And this earliest chordate had a notochord, cephalization, okay, but lived in the water. So let's look at this cladiogram of chordates. First thing you're going to notice is this one has lots more colors, and we're going to talk about all those things down here on the bottom. We're going to talk about what separates them. So first of all, what's a vertebra? Somebody tell me what a vertebra is?
They have a spine.
Okay, we got to be careful using the word spine because that doesn't. We talked about this. Do what?
It's the bones in your back.
The bones of your back. And remember, we can't say spine because we call it a spinal cord, right? So if we call it a spine bone or something like that, then we're going to think that it is spinal cord. But vertebra just means there's bones in the back. Because there are some creatures that have vertebra, but don't necessarily have a true spinal cord. Most of the time, if they have vertebra, they do. But we've still got to learn that word, vertebra. It's called the vertebral column, not our spinal column. So spinal cord is the nerve, vertebral column or vertebra are the bones. The next thing, jaws or paired appendages too. So what's a jaw? What does it mean to have a jaw? Could you have a mouth without a jaw?
No.
Well, think about it. Have you ever seen anything that has a mouth but no real jaw to it? So what does it mean to have a jaw?
Blobfish looking things. Where it's like sit there.
Okay. Maybe blobfish looking things?
I swear they call them.
What does it mean to have a jaw? What can they do?
You can open and close your mouth.
Kind of. Open and close is a big deal, but it's hinged, right? That's the big deal because sometimes opening and closing, but also getting it bigger. Okay, so their mouth can also be enlarged because of a jaw. So a jaw is a big evolutionary advancement to be able to open your mouth, maybe bigger prey, because you can have lips that close it, right? Kind of like a plant. A plant doesn't have a jaw, but its stoma, those little lips close the opening. But to make it larger, it's got to be jointed. And that's what a jaw is. It's a jointed opening.
I don't have a jaw.
You do.
You can't see it.
But it's still there. They paired appendages. What do you think that means to have paired appendages?
Appendages and stuff hanging off.
Yeah.
Appendages are things like arms and legs.
Together.
So, Mallory, what do you think paired means? Two of them, and they're probably built the same or do the same function. Yeah, so like our arms are considered paired appendages. They're built essentially the same. One's a little different because it's on the left, one's a little different because it's on the right, but they're for the same purposes. They're paired. Okay? Fins of a fish. They have paired appendages. Now, is a dorsal fin paired? No, there's only one up there. But it's side fins that we call pelvic and hip fins. Those are paired appendages. Okay, so that's an evolutionary advancement. The next thing to come along, true bone. That one's easy. It's just bone. Okay, before that, there were no true bones. Then lungs showed up in the fossil record. A true lung. There had gills. Okay, but now it's a true lung. What does a lung allow you to do?
Breathe.
Well, so do gills.
Inhale, exhale.
Breathe oxygen.
So do gills.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. Both of those structures are exchange mediums. What do I mean by that? Gills have the ability to release carbon dioxide and absorb oxygen in water. Okay? Lungs can do it in the air. Can lungs do it in water? No. Can gills breathe in the air? No. So they're specific to where they live. So if we see a fossil that has gills, probably lived where? It had to live in the water. If we can start seeing lungs somehow in the fossil record, we know they lived where? On land, or at least mostly on land, right? Because they breathe air. So lungs is a big deal. 4 limbs. Y'all remember our salamanders? We had that one real long one, only had 2 limbs. It was called Siren intermedia. Had a real long pointed tail, looked kind of like this guy we saw a minute ago. Okay, it's a salamander, but it only has 2 limbs. So it lives more in the water than it does on land. So 4 limbs means you can walk around on land a little better now. Okay, they're able to walk a little bit more. Next one's an amniotic egg. That means it has food for the growing embryo in the egg. Also, it is encased, which is a big deal. If it doesn't have a shell or a covering on it, what can happen to that egg if it's on land? It can dry out. Right? You can get a good look at it back of your eyes. And it'll dry out and it'll die. Then the last deal is called endothermy. There's 2 terms called endothermic and exothermic. Has anybody ever heard of those? Does anybody remember what they mean?
I know one was in and one of them was out.
Yeah, endo and exo, there you go. Then what do you think therm refers to?
Heat.
Heat. So endotherm, where's the heat? Inside, probably a body or something, right? What about exotherm? Outside. So if I am a reptile, what do you think I am? Exothermic or endothermic?
Extra.
Exo, why?
Because they're cold-blooded.
They're called cold-blooded. Those are exotherms. They're really not cold-blooded, but we call them that because they don't have internal heat sources. They use their environment for heat. So exothermic. So birds and what's going to be mammals, up there it's the cow deer. All right? Those mammals are endothermic. It means we make our own heat. All right. So let's talk about these guys down here before we go any further. First of all, non-vertebrate chordates. What does all that big wording mean? Non-vertebrate chordate.
They don't have a back.
Yeah, they don't have vertebra, but they do have a...
That
No,
vertebrae.
they do not have vertebra. But they do have
A nerve cord.
a nerve cord. They either have a nodo cord or a spinal cord, right? A nerve cord. They have it, they just don't have vertebrae. The next one are called jawless fishes. What do they not have? Jaws. Okay? These are going to be lampreys and hagfish. Have you ever seen those on videos or shows or anything? They look kind of like an eel, but their mouth's on the bottom like a sucker. They attach this stuff and they kind of just, they have like little bitty fake teeth in there that chew up and they suck the tissue. But their mouth is like a sucker looking thing. The next guy's cartilaginous fish. What does that mean?
No clue.
Cartilaginous. Yeah, cartilage. Means that they don't have a skeleton, they have cartilage. Makes their skeleton. These are sharks and rays and those guys. Okay, stingrays. They have a skeleton, it's just made out of cartilage. Then the next guys are bony fishes, so obviously they have a bony skeleton. The next guys are called lobe-finned fishes. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute, but a normal bony fish is called a ray fin. That means they have small bones that are connected to make their fin. Those bones are like little rays. Think about like sunshine rays. Lobe fin, they're going to have a larger bone and a soft fleshy fin. Okay? These guys started having some primitive lungs, some lobe fin fish. You know, there's a catfish in Florida, you may have seen it on videos or Facebook or somewhere. It can like crawl from pond to pond. It comes out of the water when it's drying up and it can crawl to the next source of water. It can gasp air a little bit. It doesn't have true lungs, but it can gasp air and its gills will help it get a little bit of oxygen to stay alive on land for a while. Regular catfish we catch here. Has anybody ever gone catfishing? Have y'all caught one and like put it on the bank or up on a boat for 30 minutes and so you're still alive? They'll gasp air a little bit. You'll see them over there opening their mouth real big. They're gasping air. They can have a little bit of exchange in their gills of air so they can stay alive a little. The next guys, amphibians. These are salamanders and frogs. Okay, some of those type guys. They live in or near water because their skin. They'll dry out if not. They're tied to water. Plus their eggs have to be laid in water. All right? Can't lay them on land. Next we have reptiles. Okay, reptiles are basically like an amphibian, but now they have rough, scaly skin that keeps them from drying out. So they can live on land now. All right? And their eggs are amniotic. They have a casing on them that don't dry out, so they can lay them on land. Next are birds. Obviously, we know what birds are. Okay? And then mammals. So let's talk about these guys. The first non-vertebrate chordates. These were the tunicates. I told y'all they were called a tunicate. And again, when they are larvae, they're swimming around, they have tails, they have a nodo cord, a little nerve cord that helps control stuff. Once they find some place they want to sit down, kind of like a sponge does, they grow into an adult. And in an adult, they've absorbed their tail. They no longer have a nerve cord either. Right. But they had one, so they're considered a chordate, just a lower chordate. Jawless fishes, again, they have no true teeth or jaws. They have teeth-like things. They just have a mouth. Their skeleton's made of cartilage. Okay, and they have, the examples for us are going to be lampreys and hagfish. Sharks and their relatives, they are considered cartilaginous fish. They do have a skeleton, but it's cartilaginous. They have jaws, and they have paired pectoral and pelvic fins. So they have paired appendages. Next guys are bony fish, and there's two kinds. The ray finned, again, that's like a normal fish that you think of, bass and crappie and those guys. Their fins kind of look like they have little rays in them, a bone, and then they're real thin tissues, and they're a ray finned fish. Okay? Lobe finned are a little different. They're a fleshy, fat fin that has a thicker bone in it. Okay? Y'all call it catfish, right? Back on the back of their tail, on the underside, there's a little kind of fleshy fin on there. That's a lot like what a lobe-finned fish would have. All right? Catfish aren't lobe-finned, but they're close. But they have that little fleshy lobe fin on the back. Yeah, they're basically precursors to legs in the fossil record. What does precursor mean?
Before.
Before. There you go. All right, so again, kind of the way they believe fins evolved in the fossil record shows this. Okay? Fins were primarily used for steering, and their tail was locomotion. Then they had larger front fins that could use a little bit of support in steering. Then along came flexible, jointed fins. That lets them use them for swimming and locomotion. Then you started having these ray-looking fins in the middle, and eventually it's like digits on the front feet, so they have like little toes on it. Then they started developing sturdier hind feet, that's more like amphibians have. And then agile feet, okay, for things that can live on land, like reptiles. All right? That's what they believe kind of evolved to be able to get these things on land. Again, they have all these fossil records. These are all the names to them. So amphibians, they believe, are tied to the water, but were the first land creatures that have lungs. They had stronger limbs, so instead of swimming with them, they could support them on land a little bit. You ever seen the giant salamander from China?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see them on videos and stuff. Sometimes they're huge. They weigh like 100 and something pounds. Their legs are real short, but real stumpy and thick where they can walk with them. Okay? Same goes around here if you see a tiger salamander. They walk kind of like an alligator would, but like an alligator, they can raise themselves up and run. These guys can't quite run. They're not quite built like that, but they have little short, thick legs where they can walk on land. Remember, water kind of supports you, right? So if you weigh 200 pounds and you're in the water, it doesn't feel like you weigh 200. You can move around easier. Once you get on land, your legs have to support all that weight. So we got to have strong land. Next, again, they have moist skin, so they're tied to the water. They've got to stay wet or they dry out and die. And they don't have scales and claws. Reptiles do have scales. And again, those scales basically develop to hold the moisture in. It gives them protection, but it's mainly their skin is developed to keep them from drying out so they can live on land all the time. They have well-developed lungs. That means they don't have gills or anything. They have lungs that work. Very strong limbs, and then they have shelled eggs, so their eggs can be laid anywhere on the land. They're not tied to water anymore. Again, reptile evolution goes along. The guys that are in the fossil record, again, are allosaurs, and then we know what a tyrannosaur is. This is a normal raptor. They're calling it oviraptors. That's just the first true evidence to eggs. That's how we know that these guys laid eggs. They started looking more like a bird. And then all of a sudden, in the fossil record, we have this reptile. He looks like a reptile, except it has wings with feathers and tail feathers. That guy's called Archaeopteryx. And that's been a question on STAR. They've used the term and talked about Archaeopteryx as an example, and then they've asked you specifically about it. Because they believe that at Archaeopteryx, birds went one way, reptiles went the other. Okay, so they believe that's the link to older reptiles to our current reptiles and current birds. And then there's some non-flying or flightless birds that we have, like an ostrich or emu. Those things are built basically like this guy. They have real long, scaly legs. They have real heavy walking or running legs, and they have real small, unfunctioning wings. Okay. So again, true birds have feathers. They have very strong bones, but they're lightweight, and most of them hollow. Why would a bird want a hollow wing?
So they're light.
I guess
It's lighter, so when they fly, it makes a whole lot less weight. Thick, heavy bones are going to weigh more, so it's harder to fly. Okay. Strong, lightweight bones. Their legs are still covered with scales. All birds, if you look at them, their legs still have a scaly skin to them. See? Their front limbs are modified into wings. They're still built like a limb. They still have finger bones in their wings and everything. They just have feathers on it. And some of the bones have elongated, but they're still the same number of bones as a hand. And they are endothermic. They can regulate their own body temperature, where reptiles can't. So they diverge right there. They went apart. Then, of course, mammals. What makes us a mammal? These are the primary things. We have hair or fur. Generally, it's called fur. We can breathe air. We can't breathe water. Okay? 4-chambered hearts. Mammals have 4 chambers to their heart. Okay? More efficient. We regulate our body temperature real well. And it should say mammary glands become active in females. Mammals have mammary glands. You have a small area of tissue that are mammary glands if you're a boy. It's just a small area though. They don't become active. Females, you have a small area that are mammary glands, mammary tissue. When your body produces a certain hormone, because you're pregnant, then those mammary glands start to enlarge and produce milk. Guys, never have enlargement because why? you can never produce that hormone, okay? But when a girl gets pregnant, your body starts secreting a certain hormone. That hormone makes the pregnancy stay and activates the mammary glands. And they start growing and producing milk. Only mammals can do that. No other creature on the planet can do that, just mammals. All right, so there's the overview. You can use all this to answer, kind of help you through. Remember, you can go back and watch that video if you want to. It's about 10 to 12 minutes long, I think. Or you can work on your paper and then watch that video later. I don't want you killing yourself tonight doing this work. If you didn't do it up till now, that's your fault. I'm sorry, but don't try to catch up tonight. Okay? Relax a little. Go home, run around, play, do whatever, eat, talk to your parents, go to bed early. Then score well tomorrow.
Can I use the restroom?
Yes. All right. Get after it.